Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen is seeking a third term in snap elections that she called ahead of time in February, as she emerged from a January standoff with US President Donald Trump over the semi-autonomous Danish territory of Greenland. It has been more than a century since a single party held an absolute majority in the Danish parliament. The governments there generally formed by coalitions of left-wing or right-wing blocs. For the ruling party to form a government, it needs 90 seats out of 179 in parliament. More than 4 million people are eligible to vote. And William Denselow is tracking the election for CNN. He joins us live from Brussels. William, of course, for us in Asia, Denmark was very much in the headlines because of what happened over Greenland. But how much of Mr. Trump's bid for Greenland has actually factored into campaigning in this Danish election?
Well, it's important to go back a few months to get a full picture of how we've got to election day for these snap elections in Denmark. It was back late last year in November where local elections took place, and Mette Frederiksen's Social Democrats had a terrible performance in which she took a lot of responsibility. In fact, the party lost control of the capital, Copenhagen, for the first time since 1903. So things were looking terrible from Mette Frederiksen and her party. As you mentioned, though, then we saw developments in Greenland, these extraordinary events with President Trump threatening to take control of this autonomous Danish territory of Greenland, even threatening tariffs on a number of European powers unless power was ceded over. Since then, there has been a rallying call from Danes, and there's certainly been somewhat of a boost in the polls for Mette Frederiksen. Approval ratings going from about 18% in December up to closer to 22%, making her the front runner in these elections. But as you rightly mentioned, coalition politics is the nature of the beast in Denmark, meaning the same will certainly be likely again. Big question marks whether it'll be the left-leaning red bloc or the right-leaning blue bloc that'll be in power. Many are speculating that it'll be moderate Lars Rasmussen that could head out as kingmaker to decide who'll be in charge, what coalition will be formed, and whether Mette Frederiksen will continue her tenure as Prime Minister.
Well, foreign policy, one consideration. Generally at elections, people look at what happens right at home, bread and butter. There's other issues driving voters to the polls.
Absolutely, and that's a crucial point, of course. Denmark has been in the minds of public opinion over recent months, but for Danes, the issue of Greenland, well, there's not much to be debated on. The position very much set in stone. And while Mette Frederiksen might have seen somewhat of an approval rating bounce, largely off the heels of her attitudes towards Greenland, domestic politics once again very much playing out in the minds of voters as they head to the polls this Tuesday. Mette Frederiksen has suggested reviving a so-called wealth tax, something that hasn't been in play in Danish politics in some 3 decades. Other issues on the agenda, immigration. Let's not forget that when Mette Frederiksen came to power as Prime Minister back in 2019, she pledged to see net zero asylum seeker claims. So that once again very much on the docket. Cost of living very much in the eyes of voters, as well as issues such as clean water and animal welfare too.
Thanks. William Denselow, covering the election in Denmark for CNN. He's live from Brussels.